As anticipated as this game was, it somehow became a tug of war between publisher, developers, and the fans. In fact, at one point, the author of the Metro books had to step in. But who am I giving a history lesson here? Every PC gamer who wanted to play Metro Exodus knows the controversy and negativity this game started with. The ill-timed decision to take Metro from Steam and make it an exclusive to the Epic Games Store really rubbed off on the community very wrong. But with all the bad press, bad faith, and terrible business decisions of a publisher that is short-sighted, it has in no way affected the quality and unique experience which Metro Exodus is.
Полковник Васин приехал на фронт со своей молодой женой. Полковник Васин созвал свой полк и сказал им: пойдем домой. Мы ведем войну уже 70 лет, нас учили, что жизнь это бой. Но по новым данным разведки мы воевали сами с собой.
Set in modern-day Russia, Metro Exodus is a story of post-nuclear war events, adapted from the third book in the Metro series written by author Dmitry Glukhovsky. Now, before I go any further, if you wish to read this review, I have the transcript on the Gamey Daddy website for those of you who are not in a position to play this video right now. You can always read my review using the link below. Take it or leave it, the Metro series has always brought something special, and that is storytelling from the heart and soul of its creators. You see, I wanted to rush through this game because it had been a long weekend. I had waited patiently for a download on Epic Games, and I discovered at 1 AM my internet speed was only 25% of what I'd paid for. I was on edge. I was just thinking to myself, the Steam folks have already had 2 hours on me by now. To top it all off, I had to deal with crashes at this point. Immediately I started the game, it crashed. And in that same moment, I started a refund request immediately, and I realized that I had made a terrible decision. If only I'd gotten the game on my PlayStation 4, I'd be singing pretty by now. The inner child in me started to pout. And then all of a sudden, the voice of reason, the adult in me, somehow started to prevail, and I took responsibility and realized my failure. I had failed to listen to all the advice from everyone. You know what that advice is? Update your drivers. Update your GPU drivers, people. The moment I downloaded those GPU drivers and installed them, I couldn't believe my eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that this game is quite remarkable in performance, polish, lore, and progression. You see, they delivered. Regardless of all the controversy, this game is a solid experience. Once I got into the game, it was evident that this reeked of ambition, and there was no way I was going to rush through such a remarkable work of art. The developers take you down into the Metro for an introductory harrowing experience, and then followed by a whirlwind of events and a sequence of happenstances, the story spits you out of the Metro into the open ecosystems of Russia in a fictional year 2035. Metro's predecessor, Metro Last Light, was the reason I played this game. I never even got to finish Metro Last Light because of the minimal time, family commitments, and so on, but I was determined to finish Metro Exodus, and I did. I once read a news article which talked about the conditions in which Metro Last Light was developed. And when you realize how painstaking the process of the development was for that game, and the hurdles the developers had to jump over, it would not surprise you when you see the amount of detail, quality of storytelling, and the evidence of the effort poured into this Metro title. Since I played the game on PC, I feel the need to speak on the graphics and how it impacted the overall gameplay. Simple and short, Metro Exodus's graphics are actually pretty good. Compared to its predecessors, there is a massive improvement on how the game looks, feels, and plays on a rig. From the onset, you can notice a significant amount of polish which has been added to the game. Defining textures, rustic and reminiscent of a post-nuclear war scenario, are littered all over the place. I'm quite pleased that the developers were able to implement their original art design to locations and structures, even though most of these structures are placed outside of the Metro. There's a similar sense of the core design of this game that will ease the minds of old-timers and fans of the Metro series. I personally like running my games at 60 FPS or a little more. I kid you not. And if you want to know more about settings and graphical quality, I will recommend you to watch Digital Foundry's analysis on this game. My rig was an i7-4790 with about 16 gigs of RAM, which I think it's plenty. And for those of you who have the RTX series of graphics cards, you're going to enjoy a lot more once you see the capabilities as depicted on Digital Foundry. Now, personally, I did have to turn off motion blur because I needed to increase my mouse sensitivity. And so, one of those things that you need to do if you're like me and the motion sickness makes you very sick, you may need to tweak your motion blur and perhaps play with your sensitivity in order to get to a very comfortable spot. On performance, the game ran very smooth. Now, my system is not a low-end system, but it's not also a high-end system. And so I would consider my system around a mid-range. And so I enjoyed the overall experience of the game. And I did experience a few crashes, but nothing painstaking, nothing game-breaking. I think with the way the game and Epic system is actually working hand in hand, it's actually pretty weird. I'm a story guy. I like stories and narratives. I grew up reading and listening to them. They shaped my imagination as a child. So you know I came to play Metro not just because of engaging gunfights or the life-threatening encounters with mutant beasts and bandits, which were all good by the way, but my intention was to examine and immerse myself in the story and progression of Metro Exodus. That's one weird way of looking at an FPS game, you might add, but that is the only way to get me to play an FPS game. I need to have fun. I need to be able to find out the philosophical and logical reasonings to engage with the first-person shooter. The story of Metro Exodus is one of love, one of sacrifice, and one of ambition. Artyom, the protagonist, will prove himself in this chapter as to what it means to become a man. In the story of Metro, we see all these themes of dedication, themes of loyalty, themes of redemption. One of the more interesting characters in this game is Artyom's wife, Anna. Though she is skeptic about Artyom's beliefs, she's still very supportive of her husband's dream of the possibility of a better life outside of the Metro. Each time Artyom makes it back from a rough, life-threatening situation, you can always sense her relief to see her man return home. The writing of Anna is not cheesy, and Anna, the wife of the protagonist, is both tough and caring. She is a woman worth our protagonist's time and affection. She's not only his wife, but one of the best combat buddies you can run with. She's a sharpshooter, one of the best, and she always has your back in combat. This same theme of loyalty is further emphasized in the men who are loyal to Colonel Miller, Artyom's father-in-law and commander of the Order. The entire team of fighters always showed their loyalty and never cared even if it cost them their lives. Hardened by the circumstances around them, these men, who are almost indestructible, are at the same time very caring, soft, and considerate, the perfect mix of grit and heart. The characters of these men were written to depict what real manliness is about, rough on the edges and soft nonetheless. In their hearts, they seek the well-being of those around them. You will not only love them for their jokes and talents and philosophical wisdom, you will love them for their insatiable drive for redeeming those in peril. The characters you encounter in Metro Exodus are not just dismissible NPCs, but when you start to explore and listen to their stories, you figure out that they are people with hopes, dreams, and aspirations, even the psycho crazy ones. You even learn their names, like Sam, Idiot, Stepan, Alyosha, Olga, Gwil, Katya, Nastya, and even a crazy admiral guy. And most importantly to you, Artyom, who is the main protagonist, your bride, Anna. You're not bombarded with too many names. In fact, the names of the bosses and the bad guys are quite dumb in my perspective. Perhaps I think it was intentionally done to help you know and understand who your allies are, much more than your enemies. You can literally find yourself having a 7-minute conversation, more like a listening session since Artyom doesn't really talk at all, except in the narrative. But you can seriously listen to these characters just yap on and on about the things they care about deeply. Or in some cases, they tell you their life stories, which are in some cases very emotional.
And then she snuggles up to me and says, "You should cry, Ma. You will feel better." Sienna used to say it. So I cried and cried. She knows. She knows it all.
And to top it off, the beauty of the Metro Exodus story is that you're not forced into these conversations. You actually have the option to take the initiative and learn about these characters, or ignore that and progress with the major objective at hand.
Pick the guitar up.
The character stories are not excessive, they're well balanced and actually well timed. Even though sometimes you enjoy the quality time you're going to spend with them, that background sound of the train in motion continues to instill a sense of urgency, which is tied to the mission at hand. The mission to find a new home outside of the metro. In my honest opinion, the voice acting was actually good. If I would rate it a 7 out of 10. It wasn't the greatest, but you also have to understand that Metro is also dubbed in several languages. In fact, I played the first chapter again in Russian to be able to try to get a sense of what it would sound like. And to be very honest, I think the English voice acting is actually pretty good in my estimation. But I'm not Russian. Even though I do know a little bit of Russian, I can't speak from somebody who is immersed in that language. That might be their favorite way to actually play the game. So I think it would depend on what language preference you use and how the voice acting comes off to you because you are immersed in that language. But on the English side, I think it's actually remarkable. Very well done. Metro Exodus is a journey that takes you exploring the vast lands of Russia in different seasons and in different ecosystems. The linear story depiction of the game, in my opinion, was very successful. They actually pulled it off. One other remarkable thing I must add about the story is that the game starts with Anna and Artyom being on friendly terms, and we don't get to see any of the drama that we saw in the book. You know I'm talking to you, Chapter 3 of Metro 2035. That chapter is quite interesting and does posit some internal conflict, which I'm glad that they removed from the game. But I digress. Honestly, I feel sorry that I cannot tell you more about the story without spoiling it. But once you play it, feel free to DM me on Twitter or leave a comment here on YouTube about story plot points that you found interesting. Another remarkable characteristic of the story of the game, which I discovered after completing my first playthrough, is that the game has a karma system. So, all I'm going to say about that is, be wise in your choices. Okay, let's talk about gameplay and we'll be done with this review. I want you to actually experience the game instead of hearing me talk about the experience of the game. Now, most of you came here for gameplay, and the gameplay for Metro Exodus feels just right. It's not exceptional, but it is just right. That's the balance that we have here. Some aspects of the gameplay mechanics aren't executed flawlessly, while some others excel, and this brings a balance to where the good outweighs all the pitfalls. One example, which I think it's probably the only example of a pet peeve that I have, is walking around the open world requires traversal of huge portions of land, and the walking is a little bit slow in my opinion. Perhaps the developers did it that way because they want you to take in the scenery, but it's just a pet peeve for me, even though it didn't affect my experience once I learned that sprinting in short bursts helped me move faster and cover more amount of ground overall. The difficulty levels in the games are here to accommodate everyone, from the most casual all the way through the most seasoned FPS veterans. The difficulty levels include the reader difficulty, which is set for those who don't care about shooting at all, or easy, normal, and the hardcore ranger difficulty, a difficulty that will test your every resolve. These levels are set to bring in players of all kinds to experience the game itself and avoid potential frustrations that could arise for those who are there solely to just enjoy the story. I played on easy difficulty because I wanted to explore the story and get some shooting in. I desired to play on the hardcore ranger difficulty, but for now, I have a life that I have to attend to. So, if you're a parent with kids, I want to burn through this bad boy real quick. The easy difficulty is just right. My next step is to slowly play through the hardcore ranger difficulty over the course of many months because I know it will take me time. Now, there is one caveat though about the AI difficulty, and that is their behavior. At some times, even though I played on easy difficulty, it felt quite weird because the AI seemed to just hold back in a strange kind of way. It wasn't natural to show me that the game was actually easy. Instead, they would actually hold back instead of perhaps keeping the AI at bay and them maybe missing their shots or something. But this is another pet peeve, and it didn't break my immersion at all. Also, from exploring the internet, I heard that the hardcore difficulty was quite unbearable, and some human AI can see and shoot you through walls. To that I respond, well, you said you wanted hardcore difficulty, so 50 cal rounds for all human enemies. I'm just joking. That probably needs a patch if that's the case, but very few people play Metro games on hardcore mode, even though I've seen some comments to that effect saying some people have completed it on the hardcore ranger mode. But the good thing about this game is that for any slight misstep in execution, the game makes it up tenfold in great presentation, which covers its flaws. Regardless of any qualms, the gunplay and weapon modification system is very sweet. I really enjoyed shooting my weapons and customizing them anytime I had the opportunity to. It never felt like a bore for me at all. What's funny is that after beating the game, I discovered that there was a backpack's portable crafting ability that I never really used. I still do not know how to use it. Nevertheless, I still preferred using workbenches, which helped me to take my time and deliberate on what weapons I wanted to carry through my next missions, what modifications I wanted to use, and how I actually wanted to run in any scenario. And if I took the wrong weapons or made the wrong decision of weapons, then it was a challenge I was willing to undertake to overcome my poor decisions. I mean, you guys are talking to somebody who plays The Division, where weapon crafting and modding is definitely something we spend hours on. Anyways, I don't really want to talk much more about this game because I'm tempted to spoil it. Even as I write this review, I feel like I've already spoiled a lot for those of you who are probably going to wait a whole year for this game. But if you want to know my take, I must tell you that Metro Exodus is a riveting and unique experience, second to none in the FPS category for 2019. If you're on PC and you wish to wait, well, that's your choice. But if you really don't mind one more launcher that will suck the soul of your PC, then Metro Exodus on PC is definitely one experience you're bound to enjoy. I did, and I think you will too. Now, before I leave, my entire gameplay of Metro Exodus is actually on my YouTube channel in a playlist that is titled Metro Exodus. That being said, I take my leave. Thank you for watching this video.